Hey, what's up guys? It's Brian here with Brian's Law Maintenance. Truck Talk Tuesday. We got another exciting reveal for you guys from the Detroit Auto Show. Let's check it out.
Make the ground shake.
Alright guys, so Brian here with Brian's Law Maintenance. We're talking to you about more trucks from Truck Talk Tuesday at the Detroit Auto Show. We got a special guest, JD, here. He's going to go over the new Chevy 6500 dump truck for you guys. So we're going to walk through it, give you guys some stats and some info. Let's check it out.
So what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, JD?
Not a lot. We've really walked this floor. We've seen probably some of the best offerings from the different manufacturers. We went to look at the Ram truck. What did you guys think about it?
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I honestly was. The interior was really nice. I think we did another video on that. You can check one of the cards here or at the end screen, but we're talking about taking your business from owner-operator, which is kind of where my level of business is at. And if you were gonna scale your business or grow it, how a truck like this might be the evolution of your business model. So a lot of good stuff here, a little above me, but that's why we got JD to weigh in.
Absolutely. So what you were looking at is the new 2019 Silverado 6500 HD. This is a really cool truck, and we have a Chevy fan with us here today.
I am a Chevy guy. I'm a big Chevy guy.
That's a good thing because Chevy did a lot of things right with this truck. So this truck does have the 6.6 liter Duramax inside of it. It is a really capable truck, but not just capable, it's very practical. Okay. They rolled over a very similar interior to probably the truck you have.
This looks exactly like my truck. Everything in it. There are a few little more bells and whistles down here. A few extras with the heated seats, heated and cooled seats. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I get in here and I would think I'm in the same 2014 Chevy 1500 truck.
Yeah, and because this truck has a dump body on the back of it, some of those buttons that you notice up there are actually to control it. You have your PTO or your power takeoff, which is the ability for the transmission in this vehicle to drive the mechanism that actually allows you to raise and lower the dump bed. You have your ability to raise and lower your dump bed from up there as well, and you even have an upfitter switch. An upfitter switch gives you things like overhead lights, the ability to power things like that.
Okay, very cool.
That's really nice on this truck that they've integrated it as part of the dash. I know on some of our dump trucks it's just an additional button that's like under the seat or on the side by the door, and you can tell it's been added on.
Kind of like an afterthought.
Yes. Yeah, I like that it's all integrated.
And you're starting to see that on more and more, even 3/4 ton up trucks now, where you're starting to see the ability to get them with what's called upfitter switches. Yeah. Upfitter switches are nice for multiple reasons. The primary one is that you really don't have to run relays anymore.
Yes.
So traditionally in the past, if you ran a switch didn't necessarily have the power that was needed to power whatever accessory you had. Yeah. And you had to run a much bigger relay to control handling large amounts of power to that accessory, like light bars, overhead lights, winches, things like that. Sure. With upfitter switches, oftentimes they can be rated all the way up to 40 amps, and you can power quite a bit off of a 40 amp circuit.
Yeah, on ours, our truck's got some upfitter switches, and we have one that controls all the auxiliary lights that come on, all the flashing lights when we're servicing a property, and then I've actually even got our power to our liquid de-icer unit slaved off of one of those. So if everything's set up and all the valves are turned on, I can turn on the spreader, and if I want to add liquid to it, I can just flick an auxiliary switch. It's a really nice feature.
And I like that a lot with the Chevy. I've noticed too, because I know with the new like 550s with the Fords, all their auxiliary switches are up top.
And that's a new thing. So for 2017 and beyond, the Super Duty moved their upfitter switches from down below where you only had 4, and now they give you 6 of them up top. Right. But having them period is a really, really good feature to have built into the truck.
Yes, definitely. 100%.
Yep. And the interior is so much nicer than the outgoing Kodiak truck that this replaced. This has a far more comfortable pickup truck. You can hop out of your truck, hop into this truck, and feel like you're driving just a good oversized pickup truck.
Right, that Kodiak definitely had the commercial truck feel. It was like less of a pickup truck, more of almost like a Mack semi truck type feel.
And this is a partnership with International. So this specific truck actually worked with Navistar and International to create a truck that's going to be co-branded kind of across both lines. So you'll be able to see this at International dealerships as well. Really? And it's a really great truck for accomplishing that medium duty application that a lot of people need. When they need something bigger than maybe a dually or your standard, you know, 3500 HD dually, you need more payload capacity. A truck like this is not going to give you the towing numbers of like a dually 3500 HD Duramax, because it doesn't have the same power numbers. But what it gives you is tremendous payload capacity. So a truck like this can haul upwards of 10,000 pounds worth of cargo and dirt or whatever you might have in the back, whereas your typical dually pickup truck might be limited to about 4,000 to 5,000 pounds, depending on the configuration.
Okay.
100%. That makes a lot of sense.
That's huge, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference. So the cost, like you mentioned, is definitely more on a truck like this, but it opens up a world of opportunity where, like you said, now you go from being able to haul a couple tons to 4 or 5 tons.
Absolutely.
Right, and it's less back and forth time between, you know, the job to the supplier.
Yeah.
And the more you can haul in a single trip, that's money.
Yes.
Right.
Value.
Absolutely.
So when you get your business to the point to where you need something like this is really where the price tag between a gas and a diesel starts to come into play. You know, do you focus on diesel because you've heard great things about diesel and its towing and its power, or do you focus on gas because it's going to be a lower cost engine? The reality behind a truck like this is, depending on how you're using it, if you're going to be towing anything with it, you know, diesel is definitely going to handle the weight better, but overall cost of ownership of a diesel is going to be slightly higher. Sure. You're going to have to deal with more expensive oil changes, even though they'll be less frequent. You're going to deal with diesel exhaust fluid. You're going to deal with the fact that you have many more temperamental emission systems built into these trucks.
Yeah, you mentioned that you run the risk with a diesel setup like this, that you could have a sensor go out and shut this whole rig down, when mechanically it is fine. It could go down the road, but that sensor fails, you're down, and those are less likely to happen because they're not available on a gas engine.
Correct. Now the other thing about gas versus diesel is, when you do look at that overall cost of ownership, diesel does cost more. It is a more expensive fuel. If you're going to be doing longer runs, if you're trying to expand your business into more of a regional scope, then diesel might be the better route to go, just because long-term fuel economy numbers are going to be better with the diesel truck, as well as your towing numbers. If you are going to be staying more localized, you know, a gas engine's a good engine to think about. Whenever you look at any of the engines from any of the manufacturers, they're all pretty dang reliable now. You don't really have to worry about one engine being such a superior engine to the other. You don't have to worry about the stereotype that Cummins or Power Stroke or Duramax is the best engine. They're all very reliable, and like we talked about earlier, your number one concern is doing proper maintenance, as well as monitoring the emissions related things. And of course, the emissions systems on these trucks are almost universal across the 3 brands. So an EGR sensor failure on this truck could very well occur on a Ford or on a Ram.
Right, yeah, it wasn't specific to Chevy, it's just diesel versus gas in general, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So overall, when it comes to your purchasing decision, you have to determine with your own business, do I go gas or do I go diesel? The facts are out there on which one is going to be better over one scenario or another, but the reality comes down to, you know, fuel cost. Do I want to have to maintain the diesel system? Do I want to have to put that extra money in? And for a lot of companies, the answer is no. You know, gas is a great alternative, and it shouldn't be something that deters you from buying it unless you absolutely need a diesel engine.
Okay, that's a great point. That's a great point. And so you make the point that it's perceived costs. You may have more upfront costs in terms of just entry costs, maintenance costs on a diesel, but there's some longevity things there versus the gas, lower entry, lower maintenance, but it may not have that shelf life. And so at the end of the day, if this is a long-term purchase and not just something for a couple years, those costs could kind of even out over time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, your business, how you run it, how you have your drivers handle the vehicle, if you have employees working it, idle time, all of those things factor into the longevity of these vehicles. So the better you treat your vehicles, just like your body, right? The better you treat your body, the longer you'll live. The better you treat your vehicles, the longer they'll last.
Right.
That's a great point.
Let's take a look at the outside of this truck.
Let's do it.
So one of the really nice features that you get with any of the heavy-duty trucks in general is a tow mirror.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Ram tow mirrors in a previous video.
Right, how they could flip up or go back. Yep.
And naturally, the best viewing state is in a flipped up, what we call ghost trailering mode.
Yes.
Where you have that nice spot mirror at the bottom. It's just more of a natural feel. Basically doing what Ford and GM have been doing to their heavy-duty trucks for a long time, placing the spot mirror below the main mirror. And they give you a much larger spot mirror. So that's definitely a perk when it comes to working with a truck like this, especially one that naturally sits up so much higher than a standard pickup truck.
Right.
To be able to have a great spot mirror that views the side. And when you go to any of the 3/4 ton trucks or up from GM, you're going to get this mirror.
Does this one extend out like you were saying?
This one does extend out. This one is likely to be a heated mirror. I can't tell for certain, but it's likely to be just because of the trim package on the inside of this truck.
Right, it's somewhat typical. If you can get lights on it, it means it might have the power to melt it too.
Exactly. Not 100% sure. I know it is an optional feature on most of the lights, but I'm not sure if this specific truck is outfitted with it.
Okay.
One of the really nice things about this truck from the front, from a maintenance perspective, is the fact that the hood, using these latches, actually open the hood. So this is the glorious 6.6 liter Duramax. The hood open, it gives you a lot of access into the engine compartment to work on it. Now, one thing that GM's done, which is really nice, is the frame rails and the spacing of the hub off of them allows this tire, when turned at a full almost 50 degrees, you can step in this area right here and work on the engine up close. It's very similar to your Class 8 over-the-road semi-trucks that have that same feature baked into them. So yeah, when you cut the wheels all the way over, you have the ability, and even without cutting it over, you could probably fit into this space.
Definitely.
So you can do things like check your oil, you know, check the different components that you need to check. What's really nice about this, and another way too, is if you have to do a pre-driver inspection on the truck, many of the things you have to check are things like your steering linkage. So you physically have to grab this piece right here and shake it and see if there's any play in it. And you have really easy access to these components under the hood because of the way the hood opens up and the fact that you can kind of crawl into this space next to it.
Yeah, they've done a good job of making use of the space. Like over here, the washer fluid actually sits down in here. While it might be a little awkward to fill because of the angle of the cap, I like that compared to my diesel trucks, because everything's just jammed in here, you're like reaching up in here to fill stuff sometimes. I like that because it flips up, you've got the space down in here on both sides to make use of it, Joe. And like you said, you can get in there, check cables. It makes it easier for not only a mechanic, but like you said, like daily inspections that we should all be doing on our vehicles before we take them out on the road.
Absolutely. Overall, you think this would be a good truck for your business?
It would be a good next step, for sure. Right now, like guys like myself just starting out, I need something that's more personal and work vehicle, so that's why I stay with the pickup. But definitely once I grow and expand, it would be getting into a dump truck like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is even like the next step up from our F550.
Yep.
I'd say that, well, that's a big step up from just like a Silverado 1500 or a Ram 1500. This is even the next step beyond that.
Yeah, so if you wanted to compare the brands, Ram really doesn't have a truck that competes directly in this space. The 5500 series is as close as they're going to get. Ford has the F650 and the F750, which is going to be very similar to the 5500, 6500 series from General Motors here. And then of course you get into other brands like International that have their own version of medium duty trucks. But when you get a truck like this, you are clearly in medium duty territory.
Yes.
You got to understand your insurance costs are going to go up, operating costs are going to go up, fuel economy is going to go down. These are designed for work and business. Some people will take these, retrofit beds on the back of them, but one of the ways you can definitely tell this is a business utility-based truck is the cab's built on top of the frame. And because of that, look at the size of this DEF tank. The DEF tank is your diesel exhaust fluid, and this is required for all modern emission vehicles. And they put these massive DEF tanks on trucks like this, basically because they don't want you running out if you run into a scenario where you have to idle for a long period of time. Because once you run out of DEF, truck shuts down.
Okay.
And that is a diesel feature, so you're not going to see that on a gas-equipped vehicle. So I don't know much about dump beds, but you said this is an 11-foot dump bed?
Yep, 11-foot Monroe dump bed.
When you get this dump bed equipped, you're going to get upgraded LED lighting as well. Traditional lighting that comes on just the cabin chassis version of this, which is essentially just going to be the flat rails ready to be upfitted, are going to be really cheap incandescent bulbs, mainly because they know that most people will replace them whenever they upfit the truck.
Looking in the bed, or the dump body.
See, we got a lot of space.
A lot of space back here.
A lot of space, a lot of opportunity.
Absolutely, and I really like the fact that they have these wooden railings at the top. It seems like you'd really be able to attach like netting, things like that that you might need to the top of that, and then replace it whenever it goes bad.
You see the ability to double stack the boards on the side. You know, you can add another row of wood.
Oh yeah, that's true.
How many yards the most you think you can fit into this?
Well, you could probably
10 to
fit,
12 yards.
yeah, I'm thinking probably 10, 12. It just depends on what type and how much you're willing to let that loader operator squish it down in there.
Sure.
Well, you said we're capable of putting 10,000 pounds in the back of this bed?
Roughly, you know what, we can actually check. So, the way you would find that number...
Gross vehicle weight rating is 22,940 pounds. What I don't know is what the curb weight of this vehicle is. So based on the curb weight of the vehicle, you'd be able to determine what your payload capacity is.
So this truck is going to have, yeah, right around 10,000 pounds of cargo capacity in the back of it. With a 22,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, truck's going to weigh about 12,000 pounds empty, leaves you about 10,000 pounds cargo capacity.
Okay.
Great. It's a lot of 21 AA.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. You know, so if you're in the market for a truck like this, definitely a lot to choose from. GM has produced a fantastic commercial medium duty truck, and it's definitely one you should consider if you are looking for a truck like this.
That's awesome. You have to stay tuned next week to see what we come up with.
Sounds good, guys. Y'all take care.